Zach, who was 22 years old, was trying to get out of a nursing home in North Carolina. From there, he asked a woman named Rosemary for help getting out of the prison in exchange for a cup of pudding. Zach gave her a piece of paper with a plan that he had drawn. Shortly after Zach gave the signal to start the plan, Rosemary started acting, and Zach took the chance to leave through the front door. He was put down by the guard, and he had to go back to his room. Because he tried to get away, the guards had to put iron bars on his window to stop him. He had no choice but to spend the day with his roommate Carl watching TV. He put a videotape of Saltwater Redneck, who was a well-known wrestler. He loved the wrestler's signature move, the atomic throw, so much that he decided to become one himself. Shortly after that, a worker at the nursing home named Elena came to Zach's room with his food. She told him not to try to get away anymore. She also liked his drawing for the escape plan and said it was creative of him to draw it. She then said that Zach shouldn't have left because no one would be looking for him outside. Zach said that the only reason he was leaving was to become a wrestler like his hero, Saltwater Redneck, which was his dream. Elena didn't let him leave, though. She made him promise not to go anywhere else. Tyler, a fisherman who was down on his luck, was seen taking crab pots from other fishermen. When his boss found out, he yelled at him because what he did would make it harder for his business to get a permit. His boss finally had no choice but to fire him. His boss met him while he was sitting alone and thinking about what he had done. His boss told him that if he did a good job, his late brother would be proud of him. That night in the nursing home, hearing that made him think of his late brother. Zach's room was visited by a member of the nursing home staff who told him to go to bed. He then went to bed after turning off the TV. But at 3 a.m. the next morning, Zach and Carl were. Carl helped Zach get out of the room by bending the iron bar so that Zach could get through it. Then, he told Zach to take off all his clothes, and he put soap all over his body to make it easier for him to get through the gap. After getting out, Zach said goodbye to Carl and told him he was his best friend and family. The next morning, Elena found out that Zach had gotten out of the nursing home through the iron bars at the top. Glenn then called her and said that if she couldn't find Zach and bring him back, he would fire her. That's where her search for Zach began. The only thing that could help find Zach was the videotape he always watched over and over again. The famous wrestler who was on the videotape of the Saltwater Redneck opened a wrestling school in Aiden, North Carolina. Then she began her trip to Aiden. Zach, on the other hand, kept running until he reached a pier. There, he saw Duncan and some other local thugs beat up Tyler because he stole from their crab pots. When Zach saw that, he ran to the nearest place and hid under a tarp. Tyler couldn't stand it when they beat him up like that, so he set fire to their fish nets right away. Duncan and Rat Boy saw him and ran after him, but he jumped on his boat and got away. Zach, Hyde, and I left in the same boat. He and the local bad guys got into a boat chase. Because he knew how to drive a boat, he was able to get ahead of them and hide behind a grassy part of the lake. When Zach came out from under the tarp, he was about to throw up. Tyler put his hand over his mouth and asked him his name right away. When the bad guys left, Tyler took his hand off Zach's mouth. Then, they kept going by boat until they got to the banks. The boat's engine stopped working, so Tyler had to leave it behind, but not before he shot it down and let it sink into the. Then, they kept going on their way by walking. Zach couldn't stop talking about Saltwater Redneck and how he wanted to go to wrestling school and become a professional wrestler, but Tyler didn't care at all. They walked until they came across some kids. Tyler thought Zach would be too much for him to handle on his journey, so he led some kids in there. Zach, who didn't know where to go, decided to make friends with the kids there. Tyler kept going on his journey and got a ride in a truck from a man. The man told him that there had been a fire at the pier where he worked and that the police were looking for the person responsible, who had gotten away. The man also said that the police had blocked the road so the person who did it couldn't leave. When he heard that Tyler was afraid the police might arrest him, he went back, but Zach was being forced to jump into the water. Tyler knew Zach couldn't swim, so he jumped right in to save him. He then offered to help him find Aiden because he was going to Florida and they were both headed in the same direction. He gave him clothes to wear as well. They met each other and went on their trip together. Finally, I started somewhere else. Elena went to see Aiden while she was still looking for Zach. She talked to people and showed them FOLs. Duncan and Rat Boy, on the other hand, were also on their way to catch Tyler. He knew that he was on the run. Tyler went around the cornfield so that no one could see him. Zach, on the other hand, kept complaining about the trip even though people kept calling his name. Tyler told him to stop calling him by name and to stop whining. Zach finally told Tyler at that moment that he has Down syndrome. Tyler decided to buy some supplies for them after walking for a while. He told Zach to wait while he went to a convenience store to get what they needed. When he got to the store, he brought a lot of things to the cashier, but he didn't have enough money to pay for them. He put everything back, and when he came back, all he had was a hook and a jar of peanut butter. Because she felt bad for him, the cashier gave him a bottle of alcohol. Elena walked in and asked both of them about Zach. She showed them a picture of Zach, and that's when Tyler found out for the first time that Zach was also on the run. He also became friends with Elena. Tyler went back to the cornfields and kept going with his new friend Zach, who had also run away. Tyler told Zach to put on his boots and carry his bag while he carried the gun. Tyler told him not to hold him back and that he would be in charge of the trip. They also came up with their own handshake. They kept walking until they reached a big river's bank. Tyler knew Zach couldn't swim, so he made a plastic float for him and pulled him across it. Zach was scared, especially when a big ship appeared in the middle of the river and was about to hit him. But Tyler was able to grab him right before the ship went by. Then, they kept walking through the forest until they reached a beach. Tyler decided that he would teach Zach to swim at night. They told each other about their lives. Zach said that his family left him in the nursing home, and that made him want to be a mean professional wrestler like Saltwater Red. Tyler said that Zach was a good man with a kind heart, and a bad guy couldn't have a personality like that. He told Zach instead to be a good person, a hero. He thought that Zach would become a pro wrestler one day. Tyler had a sudden memory of when he was with his late brother Mark while he was sleeping. He thought back to the time he and his brother were in an accident that killed his brother. Tyler caused the accident when he drove while feeling. The next day, Zach was different. He thought about what Tyler had said to him the night before. He asked Tyler to teach him how to wrestle, but Tyler didn't know how to teach him because he didn't know how to wrestle himself. But when Tyler saw how determined Zach was, he decided to train him with whatever tools he could find on the way. Stay away from me. They went to a house near a creek and found a boat that had been left there. As they were about to take it, an old blind man named Jasper John came out of nowhere with a shotgun and asked if they were white and believed in God. They were too afraid to say anything, which made the honor angry. He fired the shotgun, but luckily nobody was hurt. Then, they said yes right away. Suddenly, the whole mood changed, and the honor welcomed them and talked to them about God. He even baptized. After that, he gave them everything he owned except his house and boat, along with everything they had. Zach and Tyler made a raft that they would use to keep going on their trip, but they didn't know it. They had been through a lot together and grew closer because of it. They were on the same raft. Tyler saw a memory of his late brother again, and then they got to a beach where they spent the night. They started a fire and took some of it. Tyler took a break, but Zach kept training until his legs and arms went numb. Then, they decided to give Zach a stage name. Tyler thought of calling Zach the Peanut Butter Falcon because Zach liked eagles and was eating peanut butter from a jar. War document. Yeah, did Butter Falcon peanut butter fell. After that, they got drunk and slept until morning somewhere else. Elena was now at Jasper's house. She asked him about Zach, but because Jasper was blind, she couldn't show him the picture. She left there to keep going on her journey. Then, she went to where Zach and Tyler were camping and saw Zach. Tyler, who saw her from a distance, called out to her. When she saw Zach without clothes, Elena put some on him right away and was about to take him back to the nursing home. Tyler stopped her right away, but she was done. She said that Zach should be in the nursing home and that he also needed his medicines. Tyler then said that Zach liked doing it with him and that he liked the trip that brought him back to life. He then told Elena to talk to someone else, not Zach. Zach grabbed Elena's car key out of the blue and threw it. He said that he didn't want to go back to the nursing home because he wanted to be with Tyler. To make sure Zach was safe, she had no choice but to get on the raft with them. Tyler wanted Zach to keep training, but she kept giving him snacks. While Tyler and Elena fought, Zach punched his head into the water. Zach suddenly pulled his head out of the water and used his bare hands to catch a fish. Then they ate the fish while Zach spread peanut butter on his chair. Zach then told Elena everything that happened to him, from almost getting hit by learning everything from how to use a shotgun to how to train and wrestle. When they were done eating, they jumped into the water. Elena was scared at first, but she joined Tyler and Zach in the end. Good deal. After getting ready for camp that day, Zach and Elena had fun dancing that night. Tyler is sitting elsewhere while he watches them dance. Happy. Later that night, Tyler was sleeping when he heard something burning. When he woke up, he saw Duncan and Rat Boy setting fire to their raft. Duncan said that Tyler's fire cost them $12,000 and cost them their job. Rat Boy pointed a gun at Tyler, but then Zach walked up and pointed the rifle at the thugs. After Duncan and Rat Boy lost their raft and left quickly, they had no choice but to continue on their journey. After a while of walking, they decided to stop. While they were sitting together, Tyler saw a tattoo on Elena's arm of the letter J. It was the initial of her late husband. When Tyler told them that he thought they had something in common, they kept going until they reached Aiden. Before they went to the Saltwater Redneck Wrestling School, they ate breakfast. Elena then told Glenn that she had found Zach by calling him. Glenn told her that after she gave Zach back to him, he would send him to the center for people who use drugs or are prostitutes. She knew she couldn't let that happen to Zach when she heard that Elena was worried about him. After eating breakfast, they went to the wrestling school, but when they got there, they saw that it was empty. When they tried to knock on the door, a man named Clint opened it. Clint, who was himself Saltwater Redneck, said that his school had closed 10 years ago and that he had stopped wrestling. Tyler said that they came from far away to meet him because Zach looked up to him and wanted to train to be a professional wrestler like him. Tyler told him that he couldn't train there because Saltwater Redneck didn't teach there anymore. He knew that Zach didn't know Clint was Saltwater Redneck and that the school was already closed. They left from there after that. Tyler said that Saltwater Redneck was not real, but Zach said he was real because he had seen his video 1,000 times. Elena asked him to come back, but he didn't. He said that Tyler had promised to let him meet his idol, and he wouldn't leave until he did. A sports car suddenly drove up. A Saltwater Redneck was driving the car while Clint got dressed up. To make Zach happy, he went there as a Saltwater Redneck. Then, they went back to the wrestling school, where Zach finally began his training. Zach asked Clint to teach him his signature move, the atomic throw, while they were training, but Clint said no. He told him that the move had been changed and that he would show him other moves that were better. He made Tyler and Elena happy. Elena asked Tyler what he was going to do now. Tyler said he was going to move to Florida, get a better job, and pay off all his debts. Elena was asked to come with him. After the training, Elena didn't say anything but smiled. Zach thought he was ready for a real adventure. Clinton challenged him to a real fight that would take place close by. He would have a real wrestling match with Sam, Clint's friend. The next day, they went to the wrestling match to see how rough the wrestlers were for themselves. Elena was worried that Zach would be hurt badly. Tyler then walked her to her car and gave her a kiss. He also put her in handcuffs so she couldn't get in the way of the match. Tyler said that nothing bad would happen to Zach, and then he would win. Duncan's friend was there to watch the game, as it turned out. He called Duncan right away to let him know where Tyler was. Zach, meanwhile, was getting ready for his match. He looked down and was scared because he had seen a bloody match before, but Tyler told him not to worry and that he could win. Hearing that Zach felt confident and ready for the fight, he wore a cardboard eagle costume and walked to the ring. "Let's go. Let's have a good time. Hira, baby, fuck." The game began and Zach was punched, thrown, and pushed. He had no choice but to stand up for Tyler. Kept pushing him to stand up and fight back with a full A. Zach finally got up and did the saltwater redneck signature move. Clint himself couldn't do, which is why he was able to do it. While that was going on, Elena kept trying to get out of the handcuffs. When Duncan and Rat Boy showed up, she was finally able to get away. She ran quickly to Tyler to tell him about the thieves, but it was too late. Zach was doing the atomic throw when Duncan hit Tyler in the head. After the accident at the hospital, Tyler had to go to the hospital. Zach was by himself on his birthday. Then he thought back on everything he had been through with Tyler. The movie ended with a scene of Zach, Elena, and a bandaged up Tyler on their way to somewhere.